In this video, we're going to be doing grade 12 functions in preparation for the exams. So you are more than welcome to pause the video and attempt the problems and see how you did. So today we have question 4, Q4, and it's 4.1. So the statement above states that the graphs of f of x is equals to a x squared plus bx plus 15 over 2 and g of x is equals to x squared plus 2x are sketched below, of which it's two graphs. And from what we have just read right now is that this is a quadratic and this is a quadratic function. So we have two quadratic functions here and are sketched below. Okay, so a and b are the x-intercept of the graph of f, and d, of which is the turning point of the graph f, and c is the x-intercept of the graph f, and graph G passes through the origin, and E is the turning point of the graph G. Sorry. So yeah. So now what we have found right now is that D is the turning point, and the common thing here on the D is the x value for the turning point. That's the one thing that is common between these two graphs. Before we even attempt the question, we can just do critical analysis to make our life easier. So that is the only thing that is common. And the second thing is one graph is inverse, meaning that it has a negative value of a. That's why it is upside down. It's the said function, meaning that its a is less than 0, and this one its a is greater than 0. And from what we can see, that one is the x squared plus 2x graph, of which it's the g of x. This means that the inverse, or the one of the negative a, is it's this one. It's f. So we can now begin our attempt to this problem. So the first question states, write down the coordinates of f. Write down the coordinates of point f. The coordinates, not the value. So the coordinates of f, it's the x-intercept. It's actually the y-intercept of the graph of f. So the graph of f, we were given that it is f of x, it's equals to ax squared plus bx plus 15 over 2. This is all that we were given. And it's what? It's the y-intercept. So we know that if we're looking for the y-intercept, the only thing we have to do is just to let x equal to 0 in order to find the what? The y-intercept, to make our life easier. Now, from there on, we're going to say f of 0 is equals to a0 squared plus b0 plus 15 over 2. Now, from what we find is this. This means the value of f is 15 over 2, but they want the coordinates. So you're going to say f is 15 over 2, which is the first answer for 4.1. Now moving to 4.2, which states, determine the coordinates of C. Now when we look at C, we're looking at the graph of G. Now the graph of G, of which you have its function, of which it's g of x, is equals to x squared plus 2x. Now we can see from here the value of C, it's the x-intercept, and it has two x-intercept, one at the origin and one at C. Now what we can do is to let y equal to 0 in order to find the x-intercept. So we're going to say this one 0 is equals to x squared plus 2x. From there on, we can factorize x as a common factor here and let both of them to equal what? To equal 0. Then from here on, we can say x plus 2 is equals to 0, and then x is equals to minus 2. This is the answer. These are the two values of the x-intercepts, right? Now, since I said this, the O, it's at the origin, so it's sorted. Now, for C, they said they want the coordinate, not the value, so we're going to say negative 2 and 0. Now for 4.3. 4.3.1, determine the value of p, right? And they said an important fact here, or information. The turning points of graph f and g lie on the same vertical line. Now they lie on the same vertical line. Like I said in the beginning, they share the same x value of the turning point. So this means in order to find the value of p, we just have to use one of the function, or one function which has much information, of which that function is the g of x, to find the the x value of the turning point. So in order to do that, the equation that we're going to use, it's this one, of which it's x is equals to minus b over 2a. You can find your answer in this sense. What is the value of b? It's 2 over 2. The value of a, it's 1. It's 1 here. Then my answer is what? Negative 1. And then this is how you can find it. Many people prefer to use derivatives to find the value of x when it comes to intercept. So this is the value of p. So p, it's equals to negative 1. You can even state it here and just say p, which is okay. You won't have a problem. Now let's look for 4.3.2. Now 4.3.2, they want the length of DE. Now in this situation, we're going to use this equation for length of DE. Y up minus y down. Now this is the equation that we're going to use. The reason why we use it is because we're going to be considering the values of the y along this vertical line, right? Along the vertical line. If it was inclined, we wouldn't be able to use this formula. We would then have to use the distance formula from analytical geometry, right? So now, to find this, we have to find the missing variable here, which is this part, the e, right? We have to find the coordinates of e. The only part that we have here is that it's minus 1, the x value, but we don't know what the y is, but we have found p. So d is sorted, but what about e? So to find it, we are going to have to substitute the value of negative 1 into our function there, of which it's going to give us the value, the y value at e, of which then it's going to be negative 1 squared plus 2 negative 1. Then the answer, negative 1 squared plus 2 minus 1, it's going to be negative 1. Negative 1. So that's the value for this one here. Now after we have found it, the value of it, since it's negative 1, we're going to then use this formula here. Let me use a different color. This formula here, and substitute the values, the y values, from here. So the one that is up, it's 8. The one that is down, it's negative 1. And then this means it's 9 units up, right? So this means the length of DE, it's 9 units. Coming to 4.4, of which it states, show that a is equals to negative 1 over 2 and b is equals to negative 1. Now they just want to see the values of this function. Now how can we do it? Quite simply, we have found a lot of information. So there are 3 ways to describe a quadratic function. It's this way, of which it's the ax squared plus bx plus c, and the other way is the ax plus p squared plus q. Now the third one, it's a x plus a value, let's call it a, and let's say x plus the value, let's say z. Now these are 3 ways of which you can describe your quadratic function. Now for us, basically, we're going to use the second one, because this one requires you to have the turning points. Now we did actually find our turning points for the graph of f, of which it's what? It's -1 and 8. So we can use this one. We can use the second one, unlike the first one. So we're gonna say f of x is equals to a x plus p plus q. Now the value of p, it's the x value of the turning point, of which it's what? It's -1. I can't write it as -1 here. I'm gonna say x plus 1. Right? Don't forget the squared here. I almost forgot about it. The reason why I'm saying x plus 1 is because when I equate this to 0, I need to find my value of the turning point to be exactly -1. So how can I do that? Now x plus 1 is equals to 0. If I equate it, x plus 1, 0, and then x minus 1. Easy, you see? Now for the q part, it's just you're going to put it in as 8. There's no complication there. Now since you found this, the only value that you're missing here is the value of a. How can you find it? Quite simply, let's use the the y-intercept that we found in the beginning, the value of f, of which it was 15/2. Now we can do that and say, subbing in the value of this, we know that it's 15/2, then a, the value of x here, it's going to be 0 plus 1 and squared plus 8. Now from here on, we know that it's going to be a 1 squared plus 8, and then 15/2. From there on, you can do some simple mathematics, and you should get your a value to be a is equals to -1/2, just like how we predicted. It has to be negative because it's a frowned face, it's a sad face type of a quadratic equation. And now we can move on to b. How can we find b? Since we have found the value of a, we can now expand this. We're going to say f of x minus 1/2 x plus 1 squared plus 8. Now how can we find the value of b? Let's expand this whole thing. I'm going to say -1 x plus 1 x plus 1 plus 8. Now if you expand this, you should get -1/2 x squared plus 2x plus 1, right? Plus 8, and then you're going to distribute the -1/2, of which it's going to be -1/2 x squared. Don't forget your negative. Minus x, because of the 2 and 2 will cancel, and this one's going to be -1/2 plus 8, right? And then in the end, you're supposed to then simplify this. You're going to have -1/2 x squared minus x and plus 15/2. So this means that our value of b is what? It's -1. It's quite repetitive. We've been getting -1 from the beginning. So yeah, now please keep this equation in mind. It's gonna come in handy in the end for 4.5. Now let's see, 4.5. Determine the equation of the straight line joining the points of intersection of graph f of x or f and g. Round your answers to 2 decimal places, right? Okay. Now, because they said the point of intersection, that's what gave it off. They just want a point, or the 2 points of which the 2 graphs will touch each other. You know, so yeah. So in order to do that, the first thing you have to do is to combine the 2 equations. The equation of g of x and f of x, combine them to find the 2 points, right? Since we're determining the equation of a straight line joining the points of intersection, let's say it's here, right? This is what they want. Let me see if I can draw it quite beautifully. Use a big, right? Good. Now, what they want is the point of a straight line joining the 2 points of intersection. So this is our straight line. The equation of a straight line. That's the equation of a straight line they want. So the point of intersection gave it away because they want us to combine the two equations. So we know that f of x is equals to g of x. Now since we know that f of x is equals to what? F of x is equals to minus 1 over 2 x squared minus x plus 15 from the previous question. And g of x is equals to what? Now g of x is equals to x squared plus 2x. Now to simplify this, you're going to take everything to the other side, and it's going to be minus 1 over 2 x squared minus x squared minus x minus 2x plus 15 over 2, which is equals to 0. Right? Now from here on, what we're going to do some basic maths again. So minus 1 over 2 minus 1, it's going to be what? Minus 3 over 2x squared. Here it's going to be minus 3x, and like this one's just going to be 15 over 2, which is equals to 0. Now from here on, we're going to multiply every value by negative 2, right? Negative 2, negative 2, and put the negative here. And this is going to cancel this, and this is going to cancel this. So we're going to end up having what? 3x squared minus 6. Actually, it's going to be plus 6 because of the minus 2 plus 6x, then minus 15, which is equals to 0. Yes. Now from here on, since we have this, the common value or common factor here, it's 3. We can divide everything by 3. Divide by 3 to make it simple, you know. What you do on the right, you must do on the left. And it's going to be x squared plus what? Plus 2x minus 5, which is equals to 0. Now from here on, since we see we can't factorize it basically, we can use the quadratic equation. So what we can do is say x is equals to minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, of which from here on you can substitute inside and say the b is what? It's minus 2. It's going to be minus 2 because of the minus, and the square root of 2 squared plus minus 4 1, and c it's minus 5, and it's gonna go down and say 2, it's 1, it's 1 here, and from there on I can simplify it to x, it's equals to minus 2 plus or minus the square root of 24 over 2, and this would mean my x value, let me write it here, let me try and erase here on the top, right, let's erase here on the top so that we can have some space to write. Right, okay, so erase. Good. Now from here on, what we can do is say, using this, let me write it here on the top, x is equals to minus 2 plus or minus the square root of 24 over 2. We can then find our x value to be 1.45, or x is equals to minus 3.45, right? Good. Alright. Then this is our values of x. Now remember they said they want what? They want the determine the equation of a straight line. So then from here on, what we're gonna do is to then use this value to find the y value of this of the x values, right? And we're gonna say g, of which is g. I'm gonna use the second one. Let's use this one because it's quite simple. It's a simple equation. We won't complicate our life. So 1.45 squared plus 2 1.45 should give us 5, right? And now we look for negative 3.45, and we're gonna say negative 3.45 squared plus 2 negative 3.45. We find that it is 5 if it's rounded off. So therefore this means that our y, both of them are it's 5, both of them. And yeah, basically you're done. But then since they said determine the equation of a straight line joining the two, you can basically find it, but then I would recommend us just leaving it off here because we found the two values of the intersection. Yeah, I think it would be fine like this, because if you continued it would be more. You would basically be using y mx plus c, find the gradient of which it's gonna be m, and m is equals to y minus y, and you see where I'm going now. So it's gonna be y2 y2 and x2 1, and then if we put the what's this, if we put the y here, it's gonna be 5. So 5 minus 5, it's 0. So it gets us nowhere, honestly. So you can see that it gets us nowhere. So then we're done with this question. We're gonna be moving to the next question, of which it's going to be a function for question 5. Let's move to question 5, of which this is question 5. So for question 5, what we're gonna do is the graphs of each q5. So the main aim of this whole entire video is just to complete the section of functions, the entire sections of functions, of which it's going to be 3 questions. So it's question 4, question 5, and question 6. Since in the question paper of paper 1, the marks are basically a lot on the function. Right. So now let's come here. So the graph of f of x is equals to log a. That's the statement. It's sketched below, and q, of which it's 1 over 4 and 2. That's the value of q. Is a point. It's a point on the graph of f. Now P is a point of intersection of graph f and the x-axis, right? So 5.1, this is the graph basically. The interpretation can be it's the inverse. So 5.1, determine the value of a. The value of a, they're referring to this value. So it's f of x, it's equals to log a x. So to find the value of a, we just need to use one point, of which we've been given that it's q. So we're just gonna say q. We're gonna use the value of q to solve this, and our value of x, since it's 1 over 4. And yeah, you can solve this one since you know that this is a log. It's gonna be a squared, since we take the a, and 1 over 4 square root both sides. Then a, it's going to be plus or minus 1 over 2. The reason being that the square root of 1, it's 1. The square root of 2 of 4, it's 2. And so it's plus or minus, right? So from here on, what we can do is 5.2, of which 5.1.2. Sorry, 5.1.2. Now they said determine the inverse of the graph of f and write your answer in the form of 4. Oh yeah, I made a mistake in the beginning. I thought this was an inverse. Okay. From here on, we're gonna say right. to find the inverse function, you just have to interchange the values, right? Interchange the values of x and y. Now, we're just going to write this and say y is equals to log 1 over 2. Let's choose the positive one, by the way. X. Choose the positive one. And we're going to interchange the x values, the x and y values. I'm going to have this. And since we interchanged it, then we're going to have y is equals to 1 over 2x. Yeah, that's why I thought it was an inverse in the beginning, because usually inverse functions for exponentials are written in log, but then it makes sense. So since this is the answer for 5.1.2, and this is how you find the inverse graph of f. You just interchange the values. The first step is just you have to interchange the x and the y values. After interchanging them, you can then move on to simplifying it from there on. You would get a mark just for doing that. Alright, so from here on, let's move to 5.2. Now 5.2 states sketch the graph of f there of the inverse. They just want us to sketch the inverse graph. So that this is mine won't be pretty. I'll try to make it a little bit pretty. I'll try. So it's going to be this. Alright, it's going to be this. And then so to sketch it, basically you just need 1 point. You know that these 2 points are going to interchange each other, so this one is going to be 2 and 1 over 4 in the inverse function. So from therefore maybe it's around here, but then it's going to be like this. Right, so this is our function. Now for anyone who's wondering, where did you get, how did you know that there's going to be an intercept? Remember there's p here, so the p is the intersection. Now let me do it for you so that you can see. It's going to be 0 and 1. Now if you do it on the last function, if you do it on here to look for the y intercept, not the x intercept, you're gonna find it to input 0 here, then y is equals to what? It's equals to y. It's equals to 1, I mean. So therefore that's why I took it as it is, and I said okay, y is equals to 1, and this is the intercept. And I excuse my bad drawing, mine it's so bad. So yeah, this is how your sketch should look. Yours will look much pretty because you'll be using a ruler, by the way. So yeah, you're done. Also show these things are important, right? Because they said show the x in the, so showing the intercepts with x's, right? So we know that if we do the inverse, it won't have the x intercept, because if you let this one equal to 0, it's just going undefined, and even from here. So yeah, alright, let's move on. I hope I made sense. If I didn't, please do let me know. Erase. Going to the last question, which is 5.3. Now for 5.3, they said determine the values of x for which f of x is greater than -5. Okay. Oh, so you're just gonna say log 1 over 2 x, of which it's greater than -5. It's greater than -5. Remember that log it's the f of x. So yeah, you can then start to solve it, and it's going to be x is less than 1 over 2 minus 5. Now the reason why it changed, it's because of the signs, right? That's why this inequality sign changed from greater than to less than. Therefore our x value is going to be, sorry for this equal, you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to write your the equal sign. It's going to be less than 32, right? Yeah. And but then we have to also find the interval of which our answer it's found, of which but x is greater than 0. And from here on, you're going to say 0 and x, 32. The reason why we used the second part, if you use the graphing, the f of x function or method, this means it's found between, therefore we use this one. Alright, and then now we can move on to the next question, which is question 6. If you have any questions regarding this one, please do let me know. Let's move on to the next question. Question 6. Now for question 6, this one particularly, it's two functions. It's a straight line and a hyperbolic. So yeah. For question 6, they said the sketch below shows the graph of f of x is equals to a over x plus p plus q and g of x is equals to minus x plus k. The graph of f of x cuts the x-intercept or the x-axis at a open bracket negative 8 close this is the x-intercept, and cuts the y-axis at b. Okay. The asymptotes of the graph of f intersects at point d minus 4 minus 1, and graph g passes through point d, meets graph f at point c and e, and then cuts the y-axis at point f, as shown on the sketch. Alright, so for 6.1.1, they said find the value of k. Interesting. And they said the value of a, let's find our a, of which it's here. They said the graph of f cuts this one, okay? And they told us something important, which was d. Now our d is the asymptote. The asymptotes of graph f intersects at the point d, right? So this is the point d here, right? So even our graph of g, the one that they want the value of k of, it even touches that point. So what we're going to do is just to substitute these values inside of our equation of g. It's going to be g of x is equals to minus x plus k. So then you're going to substitute. You're going to say minus 4 minus 1, particularly couldn't see it quite here. So you're going to say minus 1 is equals to minus 4 plus k. So our value of k is equals to minus 5, because this one is going to be plus 4. Take it to the other side, it's going to be minus 4. Now minus 1 and minus 4, they add up to minus 5. Now for 6.1.2, the values of a, p, and q. Now they want the hyperbolic function. Now we do know that p and q, they stand for our asymptotes, so we already have our asymptotes. Our asymptotes are this one, the point of intersection. So this is our y asymptote and our x asymptote. So this means that our p is equals to 4, and our q is equals to negative 1. So we can then go to our graph and say f of x is equals to a over x plus p plus q, of which a over x plus p, of which p we said it's plus 4, and then minus 1. Then f of x, this is how we're going to write it. Now for this one, how can we do it? How can I find the value of a? Now we have to find a point of which this graph has. Now the graph has a point of which they said it's a. It cuts the x-axis, right, at a. So we're going to use the value of a, of which we're going to say 0 is equals to a over minus 8 plus 4 minus 1, of which it's going to be a over minus 4 minus 1. Then my a is going to be minus 4. Therefore f of x is equals to minus 4 over x plus 4 minus 1. So please save this equation. this function, it may come in handy, who knows, in the next questions. Now for 6.2, it said determine the values of x for which f of x is greater or equal to g of x. Now I usually teach my students to use the graph in this type of questions, depending on the marks, right? Because if sometimes the marks it's 2, you can use graph interpretation, but if it's not 2, you just have to solve it, because in that way they expect you to solve it, because the graph itself can actually show you. Now I am going to do a separate video in which I explain the graph interpretations of what each and every interpretation means, so that everyone can understand. So this one is f of x, of which we said it's minus 4. Remember, minus 4 over x plus 4. On the last, I forgot to write this negative, so it's minus, open bracket, let's just say minus 4 x plus 4. Let's just put it inside, and minus 1. It's going to equal to g, which our g is minus x minus 5. Now the first thing what we're going to do is to take this value of minus 1 to the other side, and we're going to have minus 4 over x plus 4 is going to equal to minus x minus 4, right? Then from here on, we're going to multiply both sides by x plus 4. By the way, I think I made a mistake here. There is no negative 1. Yeah, there's no negative here. I made a mistake. Silly me. There's no negative here. I apologize. So what we're going to do, first things first, before we even multiply this on both sides, I recommend this so that we can take this one to the side. Now let's take the minus x minus 4 to the other side, so we can have x plus 4 plus x plus 4 greater or equal to 0. Now we're going to multiply everything by the denominator. As long as it's not negative, it won't affect our inequality sign. So it's going to be minus 4 plus x plus 4 x plus 4. Now x plus 4 it's similar. Obviously I can just say x plus 4 squared. Take this one to the other side, it's going to be positive 4, right? From here on, I can say CV in order for me to solve it, and out then square both sides. I'm going to have x plus 4, it's equals to plus or minus 2, of which you can make them separate and say like this, minus 2, and the x one, which one? This one is going to be minus 6, and this one is going to be minus 2. This is our values of x. Now your question is, they said for which values of x, f of x, for which values of x for which f of x is greater or equal to g of x. Now we have to find the interval. We can't just leave our answer like this. So I always recommend my students to use the graphing method to find it. I'll draw it here. So the graphing method, you would then say like this. They said it's greater or equal to. So if it's greater or equal to, this means we're gonna look. Okay, let's find our f of x. Okay, our f of x, it's this one here, of which it's going to be what? It's going to be here. Yes, because f of x is greater than 0, the one on the top, right? That's the one that's going to be our answer. So you're going to say x is less than minus 6, or x is greater or equal to minus 2, and then you should be done. Going to the last question, which is 6.3. Alright, 6.3. Now a graph represented by h of x is equals to x plus 3 is drawn on the same set of x's as f and g, for which values of t will graph h be a tangent to graph of f. Okay, so a tangent, it's a point, it touches a graph once, right? And when they touch, they're basically equal to each other because of that one point, right? So why am I telling you this? It's because we're gonna say minus 4 over x plus 4 minus 1 is equals to x plus t. This is the equation they gave us of the tangent, so we're looking for the value of t. Then we do some basic math, right? So we're gonna say minus 4 minus 1 x plus 4 is equals to x open bracket x plus 4 plus t x plus 4. Now I already rushed into the answer. It's because I'm just gonna say x plus 4 multiplied by this negative 1 and then multiply by the x plus 4, and then I'm gonna multiply this x plus 4 on both sides of the equal sign, and you should get this after you have multiplied and done everything. So from there on, what will happen, you're going to simplify it, and you're going to get minus 4 minus x minus 4, which is equals to x squared plus 4x plus xt minus 4t, right? Hope it's visible. It's not 4, let's see, yeah, plus 4t. Let me check to confirm, because, oh yeah, plus tx plus 4t. Alright, then from here on, what will happen is we're going to simplify it and take the side to the other side, and we're going to have x squared plus, since which one here is common, it's this one here, right? The ones that have the x, the 5xt, it's going to be 5 plus t x plus 8 plus 4t is equals to 0, after simplifying, by the way. The reason why I did it like this, I'm looking for the standard form that we're used to, which is this, plus c of a quadratic, in order for me to use my intervals. Yes. So from there on, I'm going to use the discriminant b squared for ac. It's equals to 0. The reason why I'm using it is because at the point of the tangent, let me draw it here and stop explaining. At the point of the tangent where the graph touch, these are real equal roots, so I'm looking for the roots. Now for someone who's asking, why don't you use the quadratic equation? Oh no, I can't, because I have this mess here. So to try and make my life easy, I am not gonna try to do that, right? So if I made a mistake here, please inform me in the comments so that we can rectify it. From there on, let's do the answer. Right. It's going to be b, of which the b is going to be 5 plus t squared minus 4a, which was 1, and the 8 plus 4t is equals to 0. And we're going to have t squared after simplification, that's t plus 25 minus 32 minus 16t, which is equals to 0. After simplifying this again, it's going to be t squared minus 6t minus 7, minus 7, of which is going to be equals to 0. Then factorize this. Our factors are 7 and 1, negative 7 and positive 1. t value is going to be 7, for t is equals to minus 1. So these are our values of t, which that we found, and from there I think I'm done with the functions for today. For anyone who has any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will reply. Thank you.